Hey guys, Chris Adams here with the Twin Cities Elite Real Estate Group, and we got Jason Giovanni joining us today. And we just wanted to talk a little bit about the market and how we're getting some of our clients into properties right now, whether they're that first-time buyer or they happen to be a move-up buyer and they're selling their property and they're wondering what that whole process looks like. That's out there. So, Jace, I know you just dealt with a client recently here on the team where they had a property to sell and they weren't sure what it was going to look like to buy one in this market or if there'd even be anything out there for them. So, why don't you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a nice phone call to get from people when they're, inquiring about some of this rather than in just talking amongst each other and never finding out their options. So kind of the situation was I had some past clients that had bought a house 3 or 4 years ago and, were interested in potentially building their dream home. And they obviously had a home to sell. And we're just kind of wondering, how this process unfolded in order for them to be able to go and build that house. And, they had a lot of questions, and a lot of people have those questions. And we kind of sat down and, kind of walked them through kind of both sides of the sale of their home and kind of, what their plans were for their house and kind of bringing that dream to reality. And ultimately, we ended up locating property. It was actually a decent amount of acreage. And then we spoke with a few builders as well and kind of ironed out a few details in terms of, who they felt most comfortable with and whose product they liked the most. And at the end of the day, the buyers actually, we kind of streamlined that process. We got their house sold. They had a closing date on that house, and then we'll actually be closing on their new home all in the same day. And they actually didn't bring any money out of pocket up until the day of closing on their new construction house. So for those of the people out there that are thinking, I'm kind of stuck because I have a house to sell and there's not much out there, there are options out there. And, there's a lot of times people just don't talk about this or maybe just don't have the knowledge of, the options that can be provided.
Hey, Jace, I know when you were looking out there with the builders and them right away, a lot of times our clients will come and tell us, hey, I know I looked around online or I stopped in at an open house and they said my house has to be sold and I have to be a non-contingent buyer. And I know you had a pretty unique situation as well because you had a set of clients there that wanted to build on a piece of property. So it wasn't even in a development either. So how'd you end up finding a builder that was even willing to look at something like that?
Yeah, so basically it's kind of a relationship that I've kind of had over the years, and there are national builders out there that don't necessarily like contingent buyers, meaning that they have a home to sell in order to purchase a new construction home. They're a little bit smaller builder, custom builder, and they want to get their product out there, right, and be flexible. And this is one way that they're able to do that. And it obviously helps us too. But essentially, this couple in particular had a home to sell, and we ended up getting property purchase that the builder purchased for us. The builder also built the house, and then we actually ended up getting their house sold, and we're all going to be closing on their sale of their home in the morning and then closing on their new construction home that they didn't bring any money towards until the day of closing. And, basically streamline the whole process so they could make that transition happen, which a lot of people just aren't aware that there's options like that out there. But it's a beautiful house, and they sold their home, move in, move out in one day. And I think they're going to have a, really happy life in that house. Because it is a dream house for these folks in particular.
Yeah, and I know that worked out pretty good while the clients were waiting for their new house to be built there because the market actually appreciated a little bit. And I know we ended up selling their property for a little more than when we first anticipated when we first looked at it there. So, Giovanni, I know you got a pretty good story too. When you're out there and you're helping clients out, and then all of a sudden, some sellers might get cold feet all of a sudden, even though you got a signed offer. Maybe they can back out during the inspection period or something like that, or just tell you straight up, I'm not going to sell the property anymore. And you don't get signatures. So you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we had some move up buyers who are actually from out of state, and a couple healthcare heroes who were moving to Minnesota from out of state. And we were looking at a ton of houses. They were looking for the right perfect home. And when we finally found it, We put an offer in. We weren't the best offer. I was able to discuss with the selling agent and figure out how we could become the best offer. And then right before we got signatures, they decided to tell us they weren't going to sell anymore. And it was a big disappointment to our buyers, a big disappointment to us after working so hard to find the right property. And even though they pulled it off the market, I stayed connected with that selling agent, and we figured something out. Unfortunately enough, the buyers took all the advice we gave them, stayed really flexible, and trusted the whole process. And at the end of the day, we were able to come to an agreement and get it under contract and get it closed. So we were able to get them in that perfect home, under probably market value after it was all said and done. And the sellers were able to go find their next property non-contingent. So it all worked out for both properties, but just a case of, getting creative. And I think that's really what a market like this consists of. Even in Jace's case, not taking no for an answer and finding a different builder, or, having those relationships in hand, I think really helps, and who you work with makes a difference for those reasons.